Welcome back to another episode of Vaguely Adults. You got one of your hosts, Sarana, here, and
I'm Sherley.
And this week's episode's another mess, but what do you expect when it's two vaguely looking adults talking about vaguely adult things, huh? But, you know, life's a mess.
Yes.
And this week, I wanted to talk about the fragility of life and how awful untimely deaths are. For a background, we're recording this on Monday, February 22nd, and yesterday I got some personal news that a family member of mine passed away due to cancer complications, and it sucks. And I wanted to talk about it because I kind of disappeared from the internet aside from this podcast and Twitter. And I thought it would be a little way of explaining what's been going on and kind of dealing with things in a time where you can't be close to the people who are, you know, most directly affected by it. So they're like that immediate family and then extended family. But how do you deal with like tough situations like losing someone?
Not well. I don't think anyone can handle it well. Some people experience it more than others, unfortunately, and they have found their way of coping. It's not always healthy, but, I don't know. I've personally thankfully, I haven't lost anyone that I'm very close to. The closest I've gotten is, like my family pet. I've had her for 7 years, and I almost lost her earlier this year. I know obviously that doesn't compare to like a family member in your life that you've known your whole life, or like a friend, something like that. But that's the closest that I've come, and it was hard. I was crying for days. I feel everything. I'm a big feels person, so whatever emotions I feel are always amplified. If I'm sad, then I'm devastated. If I'm angry, I outburst. If I'm happy, I'm annoyingly so. You know how I don't eat on a regular basis? Mm-hmm. So when I'm feeling a lot of emotion and stressed, I do the opposite. So I can't stop eating. And I'm like continuously eating because it's how I deal with stress, and then I get sick naturally. But also I try to concentrate on anything but distract myself with everything, whether it be work, school, reading, anything to like take my mind off of it. And it's hard because like the thoughts are there, but that's how I deal with that kind of emotion.
It's interesting because I know this is a therapy session, and I know that's also a recurring thing in this podcast that we talk about things that should be therapy sessions. You kind of just shut down, and that means different things to different people. And for me, shutting down kind of meant I took a step back from social media, which I didn't, but I still find it hard to participate in group chats that are talking more so about myself, like on a personal level. Like I'm still very active on Discord and things like that because I don't have to talk about the reality of what's going on. I can talk about, SNSD, Dreamcatcher, or like K-pop news in general, or like the TV shows I'm watching and stuff like that. And that's my coping mechanism. I latch onto the escapism that these things give me. And so I've been rewatching Avatar again, and it just so happens that every time something like this occurs in my life, I'm often watching Avatar, and it's just now linked to, giving me comfort and kind of it's nostalgia, but like a hug,
So that's actually a thing. Like, I don't know if you know that, but people with like high levels of anxiety actually rewatch a lot of shows and or movies because they know how it's gonna end, and it brings them comfort, like subconsciously. So that makes sense. I do the same thing. Bob's Burgers, Harry Potter, Hercules, like the Disney movie, I can say it, and Shrek. Like, I can say it word for word. I can write out the script. Because whenever I get anxious or stressed or sad, I just rewatch those movies. And Bug's Life, which I know you haven't seen, and I'm just throwing it out there. We will watch it sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Also, just side note, wow, I can't believe Harry Potter wrote itself. Like, that's incredible. And a self-writing, series. But the funny thing is I've never been a person to rewatch things. It's only something I picked up in 2018 when my grandfather passed away. Since then to now, I've fallen down into the hole of rewatching things for the comfort of knowing how it's going. Mm-hmm. And that just means my anxiety has gotten worse over the years.
I mean, yeah, you go through more things. You are the kind of person that bottles up emotions. So, like, it only makes sense that now it's not that your anxiety is worse, it's just that it's piled up for so long that you are now starting to feel the effects of it. And, like, I just think it's funny that you and me are very similar, but very, very different people. I feel too much, and I know sometimes you feel a little too withdrawn from your emotions. But I'm also the kind of person that, like, I can't talk about it. Like, if something bad is happening, I don't want to talk about it. I will change the subject. I don't want to talk about it because if I talk about it, it's real, it's happening, and, like, I can ignore it. So, like, when things were going bad at home with Valentina, I didn't want to go home. Like, I was staying longer hours at work. I was taking my sweet time on the train. But then, like, at the same time, I'm like, I could have been home during all that. Like, why? But, like, the second I walked through my doors, it hit me, like, this thing was happening. But then also, like, I'm thinking about it, and that happened in, like, last month. But it feels like it happened so long ago. Like, it feels like this literally happened, first week of January? It's been, like, a month and a half. But I was talking to my sister about it, and I was like, it really felt like it was, like, a year ago that happened. Like, it didn't happen just recently. And I realized how, like, withdrawn from time I am. Like, how disconnected I am from, like, how time passes. And I've always been like that. Like, I can't differentiate if it's been 10 minutes or an hour. I'm really bad at keeping time. And it's been a thing that I've done my whole life. It's not the reason I procrastinate. That is a different mental health issue. But, like, I just don't realize how much time actually passes. And at the same time, I overestimate. Like, I underestimate but overestimate how much time passes. That manifests in many ways. Like, I'm 25. It hurts to say. Basically 80. Like, I feel like my life is over. I'm like, 25. I'm old. That's it. Like, I'm a spinster. I'm not, like, it's too late for me to do anything. And then I look at someone that's 24, right? And I'm like, oh, you got your whole life ahead of you, dude. Like, that wasn't me 6 months ago.
That's totally relatable. I was having a conversation today, actually, about age, and I'm in the middle of the age range on the SNSD Discord server. Well, I don't even know if you call that middle. Anyways, there's very high highs and very low lows in terms of age on that server. And when I complain about being old, it's all relative. Because I feel old because I'm around a lot of younger people. And I'm just... It's interesting to see the fact that they're also into the same things that I'm into, but we're such different ages.
Yeah.
I think that's the power of music. This is totally off tangent, but the way that music's not only able to bring people together, but to heal people and to help them through, like, coming full circle, tough times. Not that I listen to SNSD when I'm going through tough times. They're more of if I'm in a happy place and I just, like, want a vibe kind of thing, or if I need that, like, bubbly pop to get through a really awful workout. I think shows for now are more so my coping mechanism. And it's funny because we're both the same type of idiot and we watch things on, like, 2 times speed because that's just who we are as people,
Yeah, but I also, again, see, like, that, I feel like that's also time related, right? Ooh, big general theme. Look at us. Time, space, and getting over death. But, that's the name of the episode. I pitched it. This is what it is. But, like, it's wild, right? Because I didn't realize that I think fast. I also didn't realize that I talk fast. Like, I'm very conscious of the speed at which I talk when I'm at work and, like, when I'm with my friends. But, like, when I'm at home, I'm just apparently Speedy Gonzalez. Because my sister just kind of looks at me. My sister and my mom and my dad, they all look at me and they're like,
you want to slow down?
Okay. Mm-hmm. And my dad will literally mock me. He's like after I finish a sentence, he'll be like, you done? Like, are you going to breathe? And I'm like, no. Now I'm self-conscious of the speed at which I speak. But I didn't realize that my brain processed things the same way. I always thought people spoke too slowly. Like, When I talk to someone, I'm like, whoa, you're really dragging it. Like, speed it up. But then I was watching a video with my sister and I had it on 1.5 speed because I just could not take the speed at which the speaker was talking. And my sister was like, damn, that person talks really fast. And I'm like, no, it's at 1.5 speed. And she's like, why? How could you understand what they're saying? And I'm like, how could you not? Like, when they're talking at a normal speed, she's like, yeah, that's normal, Shirley. That's what everyone speaks at. And I don't like it. Like, my brain cannot process it. I get distracted easily. So I think that's what it is. Like, I need the speed to keep me into whatever I'm watching. I didn't realize that was a thing that I did until recently. And then I told you about it. And then you screenshotted what you were watching. And you were like, not me watching this video at 1.5 speed. And it just, I feel like, solidified our friendship.
That's only because Netflix only goes to 1.5. If it did, like, 2 times, like how YouTube does it, I would watch everything on 2 times speed. Which is awful because some things... But, okay, caveat. The only thing I watch on, like, faster speeds are things I kind of already know about. So, like, all the photography and video-related things that I watch on YouTube, I watch that faster. But if it's a new topic that I don't know much about, I would typically watch it on 1.25. You know, just slow it down a little bit.
No. The only things I watch at normal speed are shows and movies. If I'm watching, like, a TED Talk or, like, someone give a lecture, I'm watching that at 1.5 or 2 speed, depending on the speed of the person talking, obviously. And, like, how complicated the subject is.
I think it's because I don't want to waste time. And it's more so a recent development. Well, the 2 times speed. I used to just watch things faster. Or I would scrub through to kind of get a general sense and then play it back in normal speed. I think it's also because I don't believe in time, the construct of time. It's going to be March in, less than a week-ish? Yeah. And, you know, things are still awful. Ooh, not meant to be a whole pessimist this episode. But it's just kind of the blunt reality of what it is, which sucks. It just really sucks.
Absolutely.
A whole year. It still doesn't feel real. I mean, it's not. I had such big plans for the last year. Like,
Dude, we were supposed to go to Europe in the summer. Remember that? Because I remember that, and then we couldn't, and...
I was also supposed to go to my very first, like, wedding with Kiara, who was a guest on a previous episode. If you want to hear more about Kiara, you can go check that episode out. It'll be linked to the description or, like, in a card or something.
Now you plugging your own podcast in your podcast.
Listen, you gotta do it to get to... somewhere in life, you know.
I guess.
We were talking about traveling this morning as well on the SNSD server, which, by the way, I'm wearing a Tiffany hoodie for those not watching. I love merch. Merch is like my favorite thing. I bought the same hoodie and t-shirt, so it's the same design, but I wanted both of them, so I got both of them. You know, a winter style and a summer style. Anyway.
I have a plain gray shirt on today, but it's like...
we're such colorful people, though. It's fantastic. I was on to something and I forgot my train of thought. Oh, missing out on stuff and traveling and whatnot. Literally earlier this morning we were talking about a next meetup or whatnot because I had a meetup last time for Tiffany's concert in 2019 and that was such a fun time, you know. It's always fun, like, sharing experiences with people who like the same things that you do. But that being said, we talked about how we literally missed out on a year of traveling. We're never going to get that back. Like, we're in our peak 20s right now, and this was supposed to be the time of, like, you know, discovering yourself, even though we're both broke as heck. We wanted to travel, and you know, it's still something I want to do, but going super full circle, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But we don't know, like, how far ahead we could plan. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know, you know, anything at all. And we just have to live with the fact that a year of our life was wasted by governments that weren't able to fully do the right thing.
But it also, like, I don't know, it makes you think. Because, like, I always say, like, one of those things that I don't want to live with regrets, right? Like, I don't want to regret not doing something, not talking to someone, not... like giving it my all, you know, like you start to think, like I was talking about this with one of my coworkers earlier. He just came up to me and he was like, hey, do you ever think about like, wow, you're a person? Like, you ever see your name and you're like, wow, I'm a person, I'm gonna die one day. And mind you, this was like 10 a.m. and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to think about it, but yeah, like it's a fact. And you never know. And like, that is what's scary. Like, I've had people in my life that have been battling diseases for years. My grandma, my uncle, like, were told on multiple occasions, like, this is it. And it's been like, with my grandma, it's been like 10 years and a woman is still kicking, thriving, kicking ass, you know? Same thing with my uncle. Not kicking so much ass, but, you know, still alive.
He's kicking.
He's kicking something. But then there are people that you lose out of nowhere. People that it happened with my uncle. My uncle kept saying, you know, it was almost time for him. It was almost time for him. And he's still alive, but his uncle passed. He had a heart attack, like, overnight. And it was so unexpected. And it's like one of those things. And I think about that often. It's one of the reasons that I don't go to sleep without saying goodnight to my mom or my sister. Even if, like, we could be in the worst fight in the world. And I will never go to bed without saying goodnight. I will never leave the house without saying I love you. Because you don't know if you're coming back or not. And, like, as morbid as that sounds, it helps me not be so angry all the time. Because it's just so silly to be upset over dumb things. But yeah, that's my take on that.
Yes, as someone who has a hard time expressing personal emotions more so, because I can go on for days. I can write a whole thesis about how much, you know, Dreamcatcher means to me and, like, why they're such special humans, you know?
Yeah.
But it's different when you're dealing with yourself and your own raw emotions, because it makes you vulnerable, and that's one thing I hate being. But it's just a human trait, and not to be all hippy-dippy, but the reason I started meditating was because I wanted to practice gratitude and being more aware of those kinds of feelings and, you know, being grateful and humbled by the things that I do have, because there's so much more that I want. It's normal to want more than what you have.
Absolutely.
But my wants are still pretty basic. Like, I want the people in my life to be happy and fulfilled and content, and, you know, I don't want bad things to happen to them, even if we're just acquaintances, you know, in general. It's still hard to just deal with emotions personally, no matter what kind of emotion it is.
And, like, I just want to end this, like, cute little therapy session with, like, saying that I think it's hilarious that we found each other. Like, I feel like that's always what it comes down to. Like, in every episode that we talk about, it always comes down to how we are such different people dealing with, like, the same things, right? So you don't like feeling vulnerable, and so for you it's very hard sometimes to say, like, words of affirmation, and it's hard to accept them for you also, which is, like, it's a thing that I'm used to. Like, I befriended people like that. My sister is like that, but I am the opposite. So, like, the way that I keep myself from feeling vulnerable is by being overly vulnerable, overly so. Like, I'm very expressive in the way that I communicate with people. I'm very, like, touchy-feely. I say I love you to everyone. Like, all my coworkers have at one point heard an I love you from me. Like, at least once a day, I feel like. And my family, the same way. My friends, all the time. I will randomly be like, I love you, dude. Like, I know Sarana gets it at least twice a day, like, because of how often we speak. I don't know, I feel like it complements. Like, we complement each other. Like, with everything else, you know, you are the pickle eater to my pickle picky person. And you are, you know, like, I say I love you to you all the time. And I'm proud of you all the time. You know, like, it's hard for you to accept it, but I love you.
Yeah, like, even right now, I'm just like...
Yeah. I feel like it's nice because it keeps us from being overly sappy, because I'm enough of a sap for the both of us. Yeah.
I can't argue with that. I don't want to apologize, but I do hope you enjoyed this therapeutic episode, because it's important to talk things through. Absolutely. No matter what you're feeling. It's important to share the highs, and it's important to share the lows and everything in between, because, again, you never know when you won't be able to share again. So hope everyone's staying safe and staying well, and I hope you're happy, or I hope you're on your way to happiness, whoever's listening. We will catch you guys next time on a hopefully happier episode. But stay well, friends.
Just vaguely adult. Vaguely adult. Things are just vaguely